Hi writers, I'm Linda Rice for Kids, and today we're going to talk about writers' conferences. So hold on tight, we're about to get started. Shortly after I became serious about my writing, I attended my first conference. It was really and truly one of the most exciting days of my life. I came home and I said, I was so pumped up. I learned so many things. And I actually came home and said to friends, I haven't done anything this exciting since giving birth. And I meant it. I really did. It was very, very informative and exciting. And so if you haven't been to a writer's conference yet and you can swing it, I say go, because you will learn a lot. It's fun to be in that energy, that creative energy with all those people there, all interested in the same thing, and that is writing. For me, it was a writers and illustrators conference. So, you know, all those creative juices flowing, and it's a really great place to network and to learn. So we're going to talk about the ins and outs of going to a writers conference. So in case you haven't been to a writers conference yet, let me first of all say that most of the conferences that I have been to have been hosted by SCBWI because I'm a children's writer. I've been to a couple writers conferences that weren't specific to children, but most of the ones that I attend are for authors and illustrators of children's books. I want to cover some really basics of conferences in case you haven't been to any, and then get into some more specific things. First of all, the way conferences generally work is they're usually a day. There are longer conferences. They're usually a day. Usually you sign up for a conference and you can also get a hotel that has been booked for the conference at a discounted rate. So you want to do that early because there is some time limit in doing that. So you sign up for the conference and you pay for it. You want to book your hotel room as soon as you can so that you make sure that you get that great rate. And then you need to get to the conference. And I generally go in the night before. Sometimes there's like a meet and greet the night before in the restaurant or the bar area, and that can be fun if you know people or if you're an extrovert. If you aren't up to that at your first conference, or really any conference, just skip it. It's okay to go check in and just show up the next day for the conference. You know, writers tend to be introverts, and so sometimes these things can be a little tough for us, but conferences are a great place to go even if you're an introvert. So they usually will tell you that the dress code is business casual, and I would mostly agree with that. I do often wear jeans because I'm kind of a jeans girl, but you know, I try to wear a nice top and maybe a jacket or a sweater. I might wear a scarf. Something, the kind of thing that you would wear to church is fine, or maybe a little bit more casual. So that's a little tip on dress. You want to take business cards with you if you possibly can, and business cards can be pretty inexpensive to get. I will link some places below that allow you to kind of design your card on their website and get them printed and shipped to you pretty inexpensively. They're a pretty good investment for when you are going to conferences. Even if you don't have any books written yet, you know, you want to have your name. You know, you can write children's writer, you can write, you know, YA writer, you can write, put anything under your name that you want to writer. And you want to have your contact information, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to give people your name, address, and phone number. You want to give them your name. It doesn't necessarily mean that you want to give them your address or even your phone number, but definitely an email address is smart. And like if you're on Twitter or something like that, ways that people can contact you that way. I don't have my phone number on my business card because I kind of hand it out fairly willy-nilly. And but I do have my website, and I have my email address, and I might have my Twitter handle on there. I'm not even sure. But a business card is a good thing to take with you. That way, when you are networking with other writers, you've got something to hand out so that you guys can get in touch with each other later. And networking is a very good thing to do, even for the really shy. So make sure that you, if you possibly can, have a business card with you. Now, when I was I think the first conference I attended, I was very, very shy and felt really like I wasn't a real writer yet, which isn't true, but a lot of times we start out feeling that way. And I sort of went and I took a lot in, but I didn't really interact with people very much. So the next time I was going, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it differently this time. I am going to, anybody I make eye contact with, I am going to smile. I'm going to stick my hand out there like I'm somebody, and I'm going to introduce myself, because guess what? We are all somebody. I kind of felt like a nobody, like almost like a pretender in the industry, because I hadn't been published yet, and I was only just starting to get my feet wet in the submission process. But that time I went, and when I met someone, I said, "Hi, I'm Linda Stanek," and I shook their hand, and I found that I was met with the same warmth coming back. Pretty much what you put out there is what you will receive in return. So, go to make nice chit chat and stick your hand out and introduce yourself like the somebody that you are. And it just, you're not a faker being there. You have every right to be there. You have every right to interact with people there. And I find that when you put warmth out, you tend to get warmth back. If you don't, walk on to the next person, because most people are going to offer warmth in return. So in addition to a full day of people speaking at a conference, you will also be given food. So generally you can place an order when you are signing up for your conference, and order some variety of food, because there are people with food issues, there are people who are vegans. So they will usually have a selection, a couple different options, and that'll come in a boxed lunch, or they might have, they have different ways of setting it up so that you will get the food that you've ordered. And there will be a time when you'll be sitting at a table and you will be eating lunch with whoever happens to be there. And that, again, is a great time to be chatting with people, talking about, what you're working on, what you're interested in working on, whatever. That's a great time to exchange business cards too. And if you hit it off with somebody, I went to a conference in Houston, Texas once, and I met two women there that I really enjoyed. We connected on social media, and it's probably been 7 years maybe since I was at that conference with them, but we still are in touch. So, and it's fun to watch other people and how they are moving forward in their careers just as you are. So be prepared for that. Every conference is different, but generally speaking, you will have some keynote speakers. There might be 2 keynote talks where the entire room of conference attendees are together for those keynote talks. And oftentimes there's one at the beginning of the day. There may be one at the lunch hour after people have had a chance to eat. And a lot of times there's one at the end of the day. So there might be 3 keynote speakers that everyone will be attending, but then there are what is called breakout sessions. Breakout sessions are when you get to choose amongst a few different talks going on, and this is wonderful. There might be an editor there who is speaking about the YA market. Well, if you don't work in the young adult market, that's probably not the talk you want to go to. And there might be one that's just really aimed at illustrators, and you might think, well, I'm not an illustrator, I write middle grade, so that's probably not that informative to me. Hopefully, there might be one on editing. That's great for everyone, unless you're an illustrator and you don't do any writing. Sometimes it's good for picture book writers to attend the breakout sessions for illustrators, because it helps you to kind of, in your mind, kind of formulate some ideas about visualizing and how an illustrator breaks pages down and works that magic. So that can be a good thing. But there should be some breakout session that is that pops out at you. The problem is when there are 2 that you want to go to at the same time and you have to make a choice, and that's hard, but that's also a really good conference to be going to, because that means they've got a lot for you there. So there are the keynotes and there are the breakout sessions. Now, another thing that can happen is there are conferences where there aren't any breakout sessions. They just have a full day of different speakers speaking, and that can be really wonderful too. I like breakout sessions because you can kind of hone in more on what is appropriate to what you're doing. But, both can be wonderful. Aside from meeting others in your field, other peers, other writers, one of the big draws to conferences is getting to meet or at least listen to editors and agents speak. And this can be awesome. You can find out specifically what this particular editor or agent is looking for, what's working for them, what's happening in the industry. And so that's actually very valuable. At a lot of conferences, agents and editors are required to let you submit one manuscript to them at the end of the conference after you've listened to them speak. So that's also a great benefit. There are publishing houses that will only accept manuscripts through agents or through conference attendees. So this is an opportunity for you to have your manuscript seen in a publishing house that normally will only take agented work. So that is really a great thing. So it's another one of those benefits to going to writers' conferences. So in addition to the breakout sessions and the keynotes, some conferences will host either workshops or what they call intensives. And sometimes they will do these on a consecutive day. So one of the conferences that I attend frequently will have intensives on a Friday afternoon, and then the full conference the next day. So it'll be like a half-day workshop with someone wonderful, and you'll specifically workshop a project of yours. So they'll say, bring your middle grade manuscript. We're going to start working on edits and that. So they'll run like an entire half-day workshop where you actually get to workshop a project you're working on with someone in the industry, and that's awesome. Those generally cost more, and I've gone to some that are wonderful and some that have been a little disappointing. So it just depends on who is doing it, but that's another option. If you have the money and you can get the time off to do that, that's another really awesome opportunity that is available. Still another opportunity, and this is very appealing to lots of people, is to get what we will call a paid critique. For paid critiques, you will actually send your work in by a certain deadline, and it will go either to an agent, to an editor, or to an established author, and sometimes you get to choose who will see your manuscript, and they will work up a critique on that project, and then you will have a sit down with them of probably about 10 minutes where they'll go over their critique with you. And I've done this many, many times. So this is a way to get an industry professional to give you a look and to make suggestions to you. I think it's every writer's dream that then the editor or agent will say, I love this, make these changes to it and then send it to me. And that does happen sometimes, and sometimes those do result in publications, but I would say that more often than not it doesn't work that way. But it's still very valuable to get that professional feedback, so it's worthwhile doing. To prepare for a writer's conference, I would say read everything you can about the speakers. Read if you're going to listen to an author speak, read what that author has written. Maybe not their entire body of work, but make the effort to get to the store or to the library or download it on your Kindle or whatever you need to do to read some of that author's works. That way you'll know about them, something more about them. They may have done interviews online, and so look them up for that sort of thing. Try to get to know who these people are ahead of time, especially, I would say even more so for the editors and agents that are going to be there. A lot of these people have done interviews, have web pages, have websites. Look them up and try to get to know who they are so that you'll get more out of the conference. I have been to conferences where I haven't read enough, and I've thought during the talk, I've thought, oh, I wish I'd read that book that she's talking about right now. So to make the time, if you possibly can, to read up on these people, you will get more out of the conference if you do. You definitely want to take a pad of paper with you and a couple pens when you go to a conference. A lot of times they will give you a little notebook little folder, and it might have a little notepad in it and maybe a pen, but you need a big old pad of paper to write on, because you will find that there are so many things that you'll want to jot down as these people are speaking. You'll need more than a little tiny pad of paper. So take that with you. I also advise you to take with you any publications that you have already done. Now, if you haven't been published yet, that's not a problem. It's not a problem. But if you have maybe a magazine article published or a book published, take those with you. You probably won't take them out to show anybody, but if, for example, you're in a conversation at lunch with someone and they're like, oh my gosh, I love that topic, I would love to see what you did with that. You know, you don't want to end up feeling like, oh, I wish I'd brought my whatever book or magazine article. You know, you don't want to regret not having it with you. So go ahead and bring those things with you. If you have a lot of publications, you have to choose what to take with you, but choose carefully. Take a couple things. But if you just have a couple things that you've done that you want to have on hand just in case the conversation works around to it, then do that. Take those with you. Okay, so we talked a little bit about sticking your hand out like you're somebody, because you are, and introducing yourself. But I want to talk specifically now about your interactions with these people that, you know, the agents and editors that you maybe are dying to meet. So you want to be as professional as you can at a conference. And that goes for like the night before, if they have a meet and greet in the bar, in the hotel. Remember that you are putting out to the public who you are. So you want to behave professionally. It's okay to have a drink if that's your thing, but just be aware that the agents and editors are there too, and if you become noticeable in a bad way, they'll notice it. So you want to be very professional at conferences at all times. Now, specifically when dealing with editors and agents, you have to remember that the entire conference wants a couple minutes or more with these people. And so you want to be very polite about it. You don't want to monopolize an agent or an editor who feels that they kind of need to talk to lots of people. You do not take a manuscript with you and ask them to take that home. They are not there to pick up, you know, a stack of manuscripts. They're there to speak, to connect a little bit, and to see what comes of it all, just like you are. You're there to try to network a little bit and see what comes of it all. So you don't want to ever take your manuscript with you. If they want to see it, if you chat up an editor or an agent and they think, yeah, I would be interested in seeing that, then you will be able to submit it to them, and in your cover letter say, you know, we met at this conference and you voiced an interest in this manuscript, and that will get your manuscript seen. But shoving it in someone's face, or, you know, trying to get them to take it with you, there are numerous stories about editors being in the bathroom stall and someone's trying to pitch their story to them. It's not a good idea. There's even the story that somebody was going to the bathroom and a writer slipped the manuscript under the stall door to them. These are not good ideas. Remember that editors want to work with people who are nice, who are professional, and who treat them the way you would want to be treated. So if you stick to those rules, you'll be fine. You want to be cordial. You want to put your kindness forward to them. You want to treat them, you know, the way you would treat a friend, but not necessarily your best friend that you've known for 25 years. You know, you just want to be professional and cordial and considerate of their time, of their space, of their feelings, of their time there. It can be an overwhelming thing to be at a conference. There's so much to take in, and that's from the writer's standpoint. I can only guess what it is like for the editors and the agents that are there, who are just, you know, There's so much to take in because there are hundreds of people here who want your ear for, as much time as they get. I can't imagine really how overwhelming that could be at the end of the day. So be very considerate and kind and patient, and wait your turn in line. And if you don't get 5 minutes with the editor, most people don't. There's not that kind of time at a conference, but you can still make a great impression, and you're going to probably send them something when the conference is over. So no impression is better than a bad impression. So remember that. Definitely when the entire conference is over and assuming that you do want to submit something to them, follow their submission guidelines. These will be given to you at the conference, how to submit to each agent or editor. Follow the submission guidelines to the T. Do say, I saw you at this conference. If there's something that ties into your book, you could say, I'm hoping that you will enjoy my manuscript, blah, blah, blah. It's a poignant story that, you could say, if they mentioned like loving poignant stories, it is a poignant story, so I noted that you mentioned that in your talk as being one of your favorites. I don't know, you have to write it better than that. But mention something if there is something. If not, you can say, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing the information at the conference. I learned so much while I was there and enjoyed your talk very much. Say something to mention your gratitude for what they have offered you through the conference. Finally, going to a conference is an opportunity to learn. So go to learn, have an open mind, take lots and lots of notes, connect with others, and most of all, be kind and considerate to others, because that is the kind of person that all editors and agents want to work with. Someone who's professional, someone who's considerate, someone who is kind. So if you do all those things, both with your peers and with editors and agents, you are sure to make some great connections and help to take yourself further down the road toward publishing. I hope this helps. If it does help, leave me a thumbs up, please. Please subscribe. That helps support my channel, and click the bell as well. That will notify you when I put up more content. Send me questions that you have on conferences below. Leave them in the comments and I will get back with you about them. I hope that you have the opportunity to go to a writer's conference at some point in your life. It is a great experience, and like I said, the first one I went to, it was more exciting than anything I had done for many, many years. So, and who knows, maybe I'll see you at one sometime. So, with that, I'll say goodbye. Until next time, happy writing.